Hey everyone. We actually have a big announcement to make in regards to these vlogs that we've been doing. This is going to be probably the final one that we are going to do for the moment because Tony here is going to be leaving.
Yes, I will be moving out of the area of where we are currently at right now. I'll be moving far away enough to where we won't be able to be having these sort of thing on
some kind of weekly basis or monthly, depending on what we decide to see.
Yep, depending on the situation. At least it won't be as easily accessible as it was before.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we won't be able to make any more after this. The show's gonna probably go on hiatus for quite some time unless I decide to visit you wherever you're going, and then we'll make something.
Yeah.
Or you never know if I'll bring on someone else to these vlogs, you know, because I did talk to you about that.
Yep.
But you were perfectly okay with I bring on somebody else.
Yep.
Anyway, so I figured for our last one that we're doing, we should at least talk about something that just came out, and there was a video game movie that just released, hence our Xbox and PlayStation shirts.
Yep.
And, oh boy, this one... do you want to start this, or should I?
Yeah, I'll start this because I know you haven't played any of the Borderlands game, and I have, except for Borderlands 1. Which I believe this is supposed to be somewhat ties in or somewhat of the Borderlands 1 or something like that. Either way, it was it does not follow the lore. The director of this did not follow any of the lore, any of the background of these characters at all. It was a mess. A complete and utter mess. Now, I have played most of the Borderlands game, and one of my other buddy who is a major fan who played all the games. I don't know if he has played the Telltale games of it, but he's definitely played all the console games, or at least the ones that we've known. Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, pre-sequel, 3, and Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which is basically a Dungeons and Dragons, just Borderlands style. Yeah, this movie did not follow any of that.
So
not all. No, just ugh.
If you can tell, we saw the Borderlands film, which I heard this was getting slammed by pretty much everybody I know. Critics, audiences, every reviewing site I saw is slamming this thing to Kingdom Come. And yeah, honestly, they're right.
Yeah.
They're right. And he's played a little bit of the Borderlands series, like you said. I haven't, but I know of it. I do want to play him at some point, but it's like what we just watched.
No, this was, as my friend kind of talked to me about it the other day that watched it before I did. It took a lot of the bad Guardians of the, it took a lot of the bad stuff of Guardians of the Galaxy and just shoved it into this movie. But this movie, the Borderlands is supposed to be Mad Max, but in space. It's supposed to be that type of vibe. Did not feel any of that, at least for me. Did not feel any of that.
For me, the vibe was it was Mad Max mixed with Guardians of the Galaxy. Couldn't tell if there was a little Star Wars in there. Maybe there was.
I don't know. I think I did hear a stormtrooper thing from Roland in the beginning or something like that. And that was a bad joke reference or whatever.
There was a scene, actually, where he was talking to another character, and I'm like, oh, are they going to do a Han shot first moment? But no, the guy gets tased instead.
Yeah.
It seriously felt like that scene in the cantina when Han and Greedo are having their little exchange, and then Han shoots first.
Yeah.
Which he did.
Yeah.
But George changed that anyway.
Yeah. And of course, they go into this lore dropping. It's supposed to be this background thing for explaining the Borderlands universe a little bit, because they show some of the companies that are part of the Borderlands game and stuff like that. But then it's like, oh, the child of Meridian, and it's and they're supposed to be referencing sirens, and it's just they're not all from there. They get lured to there because of what they possess and what sirens need from there, but they're not exactly from there. An example being the two sirens from the game versus what, in the movie you were led to believe up until the end. And also the other character which you believed to be thought in the movie that was like, oh, so she's tied with this one company. No, she is not. And the issue I have is with Tiny Tina. Not the age and stuff like that, but the background that the movie tries to explain compared to the games. In the movie, it was all about, oh, she was she was held up by Atlas. No, she was not. And also her dad is not this Atlas guy. Or at least last name, was supposedly Atlas, hence the Atlas name. No, does not. No, her dad is not Atlas. Her dad was her parents both her and her parents were sold into Hyperion for test experimentation. Her parents died, but she got out by means of grenade. Just bloop, boom, got out.
Yeah, if you can't tell by the way what's happening here is like there's a lot of stuff they got wrong.
They got Tiny Tina's backstory wrong. They got Lilith's backstory wrong, for the most part. They got more than a lot of other characters' backstory wrong. Just all I would say. Krieg, Tiny Tina's, Tannis, to a good degree. I mean, if not most, if not all. Either way, they got a lot of the backstories wrong. A lot of it in this movie.
Yeah. And, I mean, as someone who didn't really play the Borderlands games, but still wants to, the main issue I have with this Borderlands film is that it is incomprehensible to anyone who has no prior knowledge of the games.
No.
Me especially.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was sitting there, I just was not entertained. I was actually pretty bored by this movie.
No, and I was kind of shocked by the fact that there were, more than like 2 or 3 laughers at the moment. Because again, the humor is forced upon you.
I mean, yeah, the Borderlands series is, I think, known for having humor.
Yes, they are known for having humor. Don't get me wrong. They are known for having humor. But it's, organic. Because of the way it kind of goes. They, in the movie, tried to force it on you.
Yeah, I mean, that's something Marvel does in their own stuff, and everybody else has been doing that thing here too. But the humor, it's like I wasn't laughing so much.
No.
There were maybe a few moments where I was like, oh gosh, or ugh.
Yeah, there were a couple like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think where it gets low with the comedy is there's a scene where Claptrap is literally pooping bullets.
Yeah, that was not funny at all.
Yeah, it's like pooing metal jokes. That's the kind of stuff Transformers would do.
No, and and it would not be sort of that way. Plus, Claptrap as as some in the game, as funny and annoying he can be a lot of time, but he doesn't go over the top like he does in the movie.
Yeah, that's because Jack Black, who he does have some comedy roles, but also some serious stuff. I have some issues with his performance as Claptrap.
Yeah.
Because prior to this, I was like, okay, you got a funny robot character, and you get someone who can be funny.
Yep.
I thought, maybe this is a step up after being cast as Bowser. Yeah. And the issue I have with Jack Black's performance, although he is playing this very comedically,
yeah.
The issue I had the whole time was that, I don't know how to say this, but Claptrap's performance, it's like if you took Donkey from Shrek, and he wasn't as, charmingly annoying as he was in that series.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the video game. He is supposed to be that annoying, but with the charm, basically. He's annoyingly funny.
Yeah, and it's like, the performance reminded me so much of Donkey, and then it kind of got to the point where I was like, is this going to be like Jar Jar Binks, almost? It did. I don't know if it truly got there, but
it didn't get there. It didn't get there, but it was descending down there. It was descending down there, but it didn't get there. It was on its way, though.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, kids who have no familiarity with Borderlands will probably find this funny,
yeah.
And if their parents decide to take them to this, but I mean, it's like the whole time it just reminded me so much of Donkey from Shrek. Like, there's this one scene where he's talking to the main character, Lilith, and he's, like, singing, and talking at the same time. I almost kind of wanted Lilith to say, "What did I say about singing?"
Yeah, but and I'm like, I highly doubt, I doubt, he wouldn't be singing, or like kind of like that, not like that. If he did, he would only do it once. Other than that, he would just be like, scanning, like, it's the annoying, but but it kind of is funny because he would say it, you would almost make it sound like he would say it intentionally. Not sing it, but he would say it intentionally just to kind of like jab at you. Mm-hmm. And you're like, why are you doing this? Because I want to.
I mean, yeah, it's just, I wasn't laughing at him the whole time, but I will give, Jack Black credit. This role did suit him better than, Bowser in the Mario movie.
To me, I was fine with Bowser. I was fine with Jack Black in the Bowser movie. That Super Mario movie was a good one. Which also, back to this one, this movie took the progressing, video game movie that was trending upwards, just set that back by, 5-10 steps.
That's actually what a lot of the reviews said, is this movie takes us back to the days of when every video game movie that came out was so horrible. It was basically a cinematic disaster.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of cases. I could go into the history of them, but we briefly talked about that when we talked about Mario. Yeah. But here it's the main problem for me is just because I have no familiarity with the games. I was pretty bored watching this. And it's there's just all this stuff, and I heard you in the theater going that's not how it works, they got that wrong.
Yeah, I was literally, there were more than a few times that's not how it works. Because if you played the game and watched the film, you would also have the same sentiment that's not how it works. That's not how it works. There was the one scene oh, you might die if you open it up. That's... At least in terms of you saying, oh, if you open it, the person opening it dies by means of opening it. That's not how it works. The only reason why you die is what's inside the vault. Not because of you opening it, because of draining power or whatever, using all the power to open it. No! First of all, it's the vault key with all the parts that's supposed to be there. 3 pieces to make a vault key, not 2. And grab a siren. And yes, movie director, it's called Siren. I know you only used it once in the back end of the film, but yet it's called Siren. And no, they all don't originate from Pandora. They can originate elsewhere, which you did screw up with Lilith, because she's from a different planet. And also, funny enough, Tennis in the game is also a siren. So guess what? That one scene when you had Tiny Tina kind of go this and it didn't work, which, thankfully enough, it didn't. But guess what? Tennis could have stepped up there and activated it herself because she's a siren.
The director of this movie, Eli Roth, who has a bit of an interesting background. It's based on what you're saying, he didn't look up any walkthrough. He didn't do any research of the game's lore. It makes me wonder, did he take stuff he probably took stuff at surface level detail, or just took something simple and put it into this script?
Yeah.
It's funny too, because in the past, there's been so many video game movies where the directors would take surface details and just put it in there, not realizing they got the details wrong.
Yes.
Or they didn't do their research enough.
Yeah, and again, also going back to the whole research and done wrong, again, you don't necessarily need a siren. All you need to do is get the keys and then put it in there to open it up. That's how Borderlands 1 at the end did, because you, one of your playable character, Lilith, who is a siren again, you and the 4 other people, unless you're playing solo or something like that, or with one other person, either way, you go to try to stop them from opening the vault. And guess what? Too late. They open up the vault with the vault keys. And then the monster came through. And again, no siren was there until the end. But again, they were too late when the vault was open. So again, you didn't need a siren to open it up.
Actually, this is another thing I wanted to bring up about the amount of lore that they get wrong. Randy Pitchford, who is attached to the Borderlands series and has his work. He's the CEO of Gearbox. Like, he was one of the producers on this. You would think that Randy Pitchford, who knows the Borderlands stuff well enough, I think, would have advised Roth on how to handle the lore.
Yeah.
I guess not.
I guess, yeah, really, it's just, yeah.
I guess, Randy Pitchford has, like, so many controversies under his belt, and it's like, is this another one we can add to his belt?
Speaking of the controversy, I'll add this to the controversy. Well, in this film, which my buddy discussed with me, the other night about, and that is, they didn't get the voice actor for Claptrap because he could have played the role a lot better because he knows Claptrap better than anybody. The voice actor, but either way, him and the director of Gearbox, or I believe Borderlands,
Randy Pitchford.
Yeah, either way, they're not in a good relationship. So he basically, I believe, said Borderlands 3, or no, Borderlands pre-sequel, because he didn't show up to 3, and I don't think he showed up for the Tiny Tina's Wonderland. He left because because he was having issues with the director, and so he got him. So the director got him mad enough to leave and have no affiliation whatsoever.
Yeah, probably because Randy Pitchford, he's known for making some pretty bad decisions for Gearbox.
Yeah, so it was literally like you had the character, and he is still voice acting. This isn't like one of those let's just say, I know some people were questioning about why not get the voice actor for Mario into the Super Mario film, and that's probably because he probably wants to retire.
Yeah.
Versus the Claptrap voice actor, who is still voice acting and probably will continue for a while, but you got him mad to the point where he will not come back.
Maybe if Randy Pitchford had no involvement with this film, he could have come back.
If you would have repair of whatever damage prior to, prior to the Borderlands 3, because again, he didn't come back for Borderlands 3. He didn't come back for the, Tiny Tina's Wonderland. And it's just like, ugh. But either way, you had the voice actor, available around, but you pissed him off a while back to where he doesn't want to come back.
There's definitely some behind the scenes stuff. This is new information to me.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think, because I don't know if there's a whole lot to spoil with this movie other than moments.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of it I'm going to forget right away.
Yeah, it's just moments. It's just a ragtag adventure. And again, if it's supposed to be like tie into Borderlands 1 or any sort of Borderlands at all, you failed at that. Because if it's 1, you failed at the big thing, which is Tiny Tina's. That's, in the first Borderlands 1, was not involved in that one, and neither was Craig. It was Brick, and there was Mordecai. And guess what? Neither of them were in this film. Where were they?
Yeah, we had to look up the plot of the game after we got out of this, and it's very clear to us now that Eli Roth must have skipped over a lot of details for Borderlands 1 and just went and pulled things from the sequels.
Pulled things from a lot of the sequels and stuff like that, which again, I know for the most part, Borderlands 2 is probably the most popular one because of Handsome Jack and a lot of other things too. And that's from a different company, Hyperion, not Atlas. Now again, Atlas was part of Borderlands 1, and it was a bad company and stuff like that. Crimson Lance, yes, it was there and stuff like that. But however, again, the CEO is not Atlas, it's Rise. It's Rise. It's a different guy, not with the last name of Atlas.
Yeah, and, the other thing too, outside of, the lore that they got wrong, because this movie, I was trying to figure out if it had a really big Mad Max vibe, but I was saying how it mixes Mad Max with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep. Let
me see. So there's this chase scene through the desert of Pandora where you see they're in the big car and then they're getting chased down.
Oh, yep.
I got Fury Road vibes from that.
Oh.
Just without the fun of Fury Road.
Yeah. To me, it was, it didn't really felt like Mad Max per se, because all it was an armored vehicle jumping up and and them having like different other vehicles too, like flying vehicles or like rugged like truck or something like that, shooting at each other. And then yes, it was rough ride, which led them to a like a piss field basically.
Oh, we gotta talk about that. Yeah, they drive through this field of yellow mist, and I've seen
Yellow
stuff
mist of piss.
of pee
Yeah,
and that
pee.
too. But yeah, I've seen movies where there's like mist, because they're on an arid desert planet,
Yep.
and I'm like, okay, I've seen this before. And then there's this monster that lives in the field, and it squirts out a lot of pee on everybody,
Yep.
and it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if I don't know if the games have this much of juvenile humor to them.
They do have a lot of like dark humor, juvenile, and all the sort of humor but the idea is it's organic, and again it's supposed to be Mad Max but in space, so it's supposed to be a lot of like just crazy unhinged jokes, and a lot of it can be any sort of joke at any point. But again, that piss monster or whatever,
It was like a giant tentacled like.
yeah.
It honestly, it
Again,
kind of reminded me of the monster from the opening of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like that. I mean, I don't, a monster like that could, but not in a piss manner.
Yeah, it's like, wouldn't it shoot out acid or some kind of poison?
Yeah, like that would fit better with this sort of monster.
Unless
not piss.
Unless maybe it shoots out the pee so that it gets a sense on the characters and it can hunt them down a lot better.
Yeah, but it's like, ugh.
Which, that probably
Also, another thing too, General Knox, which was the female character, in the games, it's an older man.
So, whoops, looks like we got a swap on our hands.
Yes, a swap. An unnecessary swap.
I mean, yeah, again, if you didn't play the games, you would not know this, but anyone who's familiar with Borderlands lore, oh boy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, outside of the chase scene where they're being chased through the desert in the vehicles, which got huge Mad Max vibes, the second they get to this, like, big city area in the desert, and they're going around until they meet Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Moxie.
Yeah. Or, was it? No, I don't know. Tannis? Was it Tannis?
Or you talking about the older lady?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Tannis.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the other one. Prior to that one, Moxie. Then there's Tannis, which again, Tannis was wrong.
Well, anyway, yeah, they go through this big city, and I was getting like nowhere from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
It seriously felt like that. And the second they meet up with Jamie Lee Curtis's character, I'm like, this is just like how we were meeting up with the Collector from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I mean, there are massive Guardians of the Galaxy vibes in this movie, and I don't even know if the game has those vibes, because the first two games came out before Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. And again, and me and my buddy, who's again the Borderlands fan, the Borderlands game was inspired by Mad Max, and Mad Max, came out prior to Borderlands. Again, the game was inspired by Mad Max, but they just decided to throw it in space.
Yeah, and it's like, just out of that one chase scene that felt like Mad Max, and then there was another scene involving one of the vehicles, kind of Mad Max-ish. The rest of the movie has these Guardians of the Galaxy vibes to it.
It was mostly Guardians of the Galaxy, and it was a lot of the bad parts of the Guardians of the Galaxy. But either way, why though? Why?
Because the filmmakers can't really, do anything interesting. They have to borrow from other sources.
And also another thing too, again, going back to lore issues and stuff like that. The mom for Lilith I don't believe was anywhere mentioned at all, at any point.
Yeah, the funny thing about that mom character, she looked like Jennifer Lawrence. But then when the end credits came, I'm like, oh, that's not Jennifer Lawrence.
No. But either way, it's like, there was no reference. Not at all. Not one bit. In the Borderlands games, none. Whatsoever. There was no, like, oh, mom this, mom that. No. And again, if you play the Borderlands games, you will also know that they're all younger.
Yeah, because
At least most of the characters are. Tiny Tina, you relatively got the age right, in that ballpark, or roughly around there. Everyone else for the most part, no, you didn't for age.
yeah, because you showed me a picture of Lilith from the games, and after seeing that picture, I was like, wait, why'd you cast Cate Blanchett? She's not as youthful as Lilith was.
And I also showed you Tannis from the game.
Yeah, and Tannis is played by Jamie Lee Curtis, who's like, wait a minute, this person's youthful in the games. Why'd you cast an older actress?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yep, and I'm pretty sure if I showed you a picture of Moxie, you would also say the exact same thing.
Ooh. Honestly, I don't even remember the Moxie character that well.
Yeah.
And then Roland, I mean, okay, they got that right, but I would not have casted Kevin Hart in this role.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe not Kevin Hart, but yeah, it was roughly right. That part was also roughly right, but to a degree though.
Yeah, and then the actor that played Krieg, I don't know who that was. At least, he looked cool, but the main issue I have with that character, I got Drax the Destroyer vibes out of him. Not 100%, but there's kind of a similarity there.
Yeah, Krieg is supposed to be one of those crazy guys, but he is super, really strong. But he's supposed to be bad, bad bleep crazy. But he also have like this bad in his mind, whatever. Because after going through all the torture and whatnot, does have some tiny bit of semblance left still remaining there. But he's mostly been controlled by the rage side of the mind for the most part. I mean, there is some semblance.
I mean, he didn't really come off as crazy. He came off as, he's rageful and angry if you set him off, but I never got any crazy vibes from this guy. He was just like a silent, brutish figure that helped these characters.
Again, brute, yes, but he's supposed to be a lot more crazy.
And if you know the cover of the Borderlands games, they don't do this.
Yeah.
Where you see the main character, he's like pointing his fingers to his head, and then you see something come out of the side. And then the second game had a character doing this.
Yeah.
They don't do that at all in this movie.
Yeah, no.
I guess because, well, if we don't recreate the iconic imagery, we'll just do our own thing.
Another big issue. Borderlands, the games, the series, the game, is rated M.
And this was a PG-13.
Yes. Another big issue.
Which is watered down, and it's not going to be nearly as fun.
No. You water it down a lot. You water down a game that is supposed to be, again, Mad Max in space. And Mad Max is supposed to be, what?
R-rated.
R-rated films.
Even though the third one was PG-13, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, besides the point. But most of them are rated R. Which is, again, most of the previous one, which R-rated R, Borderlands got that, was inspired from that. So that's why it got the rated M for all the games.
And then with this one, they went for PG-13 rating because, well, we need to make the widest audience possible, and we're going to have to water it down, and whenever something gets watered down, it's nowhere near as fun.
Yeah, and that's why, and also for the people that knows Borderlands, also realize because of its watered down nature and all this mistaken lore, just, misinformation, all this sort of stuff, it got the poor review ratings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because, there's been R-rated video game movies that still got slammed despite their R rating, but that's mostly due to incompetent filmmaking or poor storytelling.
And,
but with this one, it's like, I'm not entertained if you take R-rated source material and you water it down.
Yeah. And then now you water it down, you got a lot of things wrong. So now you're making the audience confused, not entertained, and it's a mess.
And it's because of that incomprehensibleness, like anyone who hasn't played these games will be bored, which is what I was feeling most of this movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, it reminded me so much of when I saw the World of Warcraft movie. That movie, like, you need Warcraft knowledge ahead of time to even get it.
Yes, Warcraft knowledge. And again, if you play the game, well, guess what? It's kind of like it basically was an advertisement to replay the game. And if you're new to the game, it's also an advertisement to play the game. It's basically like an hour or hour and a half long or whatever, how long that film was. advertisement.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like a recruitment ad created by Blizzard to get more people to join the game.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it worked, but maybe it did.
Maybe for some. I don't know about a lot, but probably maybe some.
But this Borderlands movie, it doesn't have the same effect.
No, it does not.
This is nowhere near a secret ad commissioned by Gearbox and 2K, whose logos appeared in front of this, by the way.
Yep.
This is not an ad commissioned by them to get you to play Borderlands. I mean, it's just them taking their property and not giving it the proper care it deserves.
No, not the proper lore, not the proper character, not the proper anything in this movie.
And, the other thing that really killed the Mad Max vibes for me was, okay, the arid desert planet that they're on is called Pandora.
Yep.
Why is it called Pandora? I mean, we all know that Pandora is a name used in other stuff.
Yep.
But for sci-fi fans, one Pandora is a jungle planet with Na'vi and Tolkuns and Turok Makto.
Yep. So in the Borderlands, I will also give you why it was named Pandora. Yeah. Pandora's box.
Yeah, and it's like with Pandora, it's a red desert planet, yes, but it's also a junkyard planet as well. So it's like Mad Max is not like desert mixed with junkyard. It's more like a wasteland desert with whatever settlements remain. But here it's like Pandora's a junkyard planet, and I'm pretty sure this is what it was in the game. Junkyard planet, arid desert, but the junkyard things didn't give that much of a Mad Max vibe for me.
Yeah, so it's a lot of it is definitely a mess for sure, and there's some other parts to the planet as well. There's still, varieties of plants and stuff like that. So there is some like mushrooms and some other thing. Not all of it's just a junkyard waste. There are some, various areas that you could go to that's still wildlife and stuff like that.
Basically green places.
Yes. There are some green places, but not all.
I mean, if this movie had shown green places, that would have been a big rip-off of Furiosa.
Yeah. Definitely for sure. And let's see,
it just kind of bothers me that like the planet's called Pandora, and yet all we see is basically a red desert with junkyard, and the settlements are not worn down or like barely making it along. They're pretty well done.
Yeah, because
well maintained.
Yeah, because I know there's supposed to be some that's supposed to be like, I think like northern points or some points supposed to be icy, because there are some like wildlife and stuff like that in Pandora. But again, Pandora as the because in normal, whenever you hear Pandora, like Pandora's box, it's chaos, it's a mystery, it's a mysterious chaos type of thing. Pandora's kind of like that. The Pandora in Borderlands is kind of like that.
Alright, so basically different environments. I mean, it'd be nice if we could see those different environments outside of the desert, but I guess the budget didn't allow for that.
Yep, and even the trivia, if you go, look up the Pandora, like from the, search up and go to the game, it mentions Greek mythology. So they use Pandora as they follow the similar background knowledge from Greek mythology, which is, Pandora's box.
Alright. Yeah, there's a lot of lore I need to catch up on when I get to Borderlands. Oh boy.
Yep.
And then, I'm just trying to think, because, there's just moments that happen in this. I don't know if I could, fully recount this without losing my way and getting confused.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the other problem with this Borderlands movie is a lot of the stuff they talk about, again, if you don't know your knowledge of Borderlands, you will be completely lost.
And if you do know your knowledge of Borderlands, you will be completely irritated.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of fans already that are very irritated by this.
Yeah.
I mean, one review from a fan in particular quoted, "I have no mouth and I must scream" for this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like, you know what this movie did that gave me a little bit of a Star Wars vibe to it? There's these guards, and they're dressed. They look like stormtroopers almost. The guys in the red suits.
Oh, yeah.
They look like stormtroopers, but I also couldn't tell. Like, was this in the game?
They were supposed to be more like trench coat type of vibe. So if I can show you real quickly in terms of the Crimson Lance.
Yeah, these soldier characters, they looked like stormtroopers almost.
Yeah, so there's the Crimson Raider. That doesn't happen till Borderlands 2. Yeah, so where is our little Mr. Oh, no, that's the Siren. Oh, here it is. Atlas. So, yeah, so you kind of see they're supposed to be kind of like, well, for the audience they cannot see, but if you look it up, they're supposed to be kind of like trench coat type troopers of sorts.
And based on that image you're showing me, I'm getting a little bit... They kind of look inspired by the Helghast from Killzone.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, definitely, for sure. So, if we want to look up the actual, like, Crimson Lance from the Borderlands. Not Crimson Raider, but I... Oh, nope. Alright. There we go. Lance.
Yeah,
So,
they kind of look like the Helghast from Killzone.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of, like, that trench coat type of... Or very also another similarity to like the Gears of War soldiers, you know, like the cogs a little bit, but instead of blue, it's red.
I'm not too familiar with Gears of War, but I'm just saying those look like the Helghast from Killzone.
Helghast, definitely for sure. Or yeah, but they're supposed to be kind of like almost very similar. Again, like metalized trench coat soldiers, you know, like the not stormtroopers.
I mean, there was a little bit of a stormtrooper vibe with these, you know, foot soldier characters in this movie.
Yeah.
But I was also reminded of the Authority from Rage.
Yeah.
Which, incidentally, Rage was also...
Yeah.
Well, they say it took stuff from Borderlands 2, which it probably did.
Yeah.
But it's like... I mean, these guys didn't look like the Authority from Rage, but I'm getting some vibes.
Yeah.
I'm getting some strong vibes on that one. And then, what else? Oh, there was one scene in this movie that it's the scene where they're going through the sewer, and there's all that chemical green waste.
The acid, yeah.
Yeah, which either it looked like acid, but it was so bright green, it looked like nuclear waste.
Yeah.
It seriously did. And they're going through this where there's all this acid, and it looks highly dangerous. I'm like, okay, these characters are going in with no protective gear. What if there are fumes coming from this waste and they breathe it in? You don't think you'll get a health problem later on?
Yeah.
And it reminded me. It reminded me so much of that. There's this one level in Doom 3: Resurrection of Evil where you're going through a sewer of like chemical waste. Mm-hmm. In the BFG edition, you go in with like no protective gear, so you're exposing yourself to harmful chemicals. But in the original version of that expansion pack, you actually put on protective gear. So it's like, I always get bothered when I see stuff like that. It's like, put on some protective gear. You have no idea what you'll get exposed to. That scene bothered me. And then, like, I'm just going to say this right now, too, about the Borderlands movie. Mm-hmm. But there was a lot of the visual effects in this did not look very good from time to time.
Nope.
Like, there were moments where I could see it was actors on a green screen. Like, the backgrounds didn't look like they were really there.
Yeah.
Other times, it looked fine, but other times, it looked really artificial. Like, they weren't really there at all.
Definitely, that's for sure.
And then there's a scene where, like, Lilith spreads these fiery wings because, spoiler alert, she finds out she's the daughter of the Iridians or something.
It's... Oh, yeah, in this case, I would kind of rephrase it as, she figures out that she was the Siren and not Tiny Tina, which again, if you play the game, why on earth does anyone believe Tiny Tina is a Siren? No, she is not. That is Lilith. And again, child of a Meridian? No, that's not. No.
Yeah, I mean, there's this scene where Lilith spreads these fiery wings. The second that happens, like... I don't know how to say this, but I feel like there's a CGI layer that was applied to this character, and it looks so bad.
Yeah.
It looks so fake. It reminded me of the Scorpion King CGI from The Mummy Returns.
Oh, God.
It seriously did.
Oh.
It's like we're still having these bad-looking visual effects all these years later when the tech should have improved.
Yeah.
Oh, dear gosh. And you had something to say about the arch that they find.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be a lot taller and bigger, and not anywhere near the height of like from like where we are to like maybe like another like store, another like floor high.
It's like supposed to be about as big as the archway in St. Louis. That
Yes.
big silver archway in St. Louis,
Yeah, it's supposed to
Missouri.
be supposed to be a lot bigger, not small. And also too, and again, Borderlands 1, when they open the vault, monster comes through, or at least a dangerous creature comes through. And there was and again, as I showed you with the synopsis a little bit of the game, it explained why the vault was closed in the first place.
Because in the game, it turns out there's a big monster behind the gate. You open it, the monster is going to come out.
Yes. Now, there are treasure, definitely for sure. But the monster was there to be guarded, or was, to be locked away.
But in the movie, they go through the gate, and on the other side, they find all these, like, I think it's a bunch of power sources. I honestly couldn't tell what it was.
It's just like a lot of, it's like volt power, stuff like that you could use for advanced technologies and stuff like that, which Atlas did do in the game, which, was part of the synopsis. But when they couldn't find any more vaults, that's why they abandoned it.
Anyway, yeah, they go through the portal and they talk about something. And then Lilith and Tiny Tina, like, it turns out they lured him in there. It was part of a trap because the monster gets this bad guy and, well, wraps the tentacles around and eats him, and then they walk away.
Yeah, or teleports away, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Or
scene,
phase walk away, I should say, because Siren's power is phase walk.
yeah, this scene was really cliche because I've seen it before where the good guys triumph and they trick the bad guys and the bad guys lose.
Yeah.
I've seen this before. It was so cliche.
Yeah, I know. And then of course they celebrated at the end, almost like any Guardians type movie, how it would end. It's like, no, it wouldn't be this big of a celebratory thing at Borderlands. Not really. It didn't quite happen really for the most part. Hart. It would all just be like, oh, thank God, it's over. All right, now what?
Actually, that celebratory scene, the way it was done, I did not get Guardians of the Galaxy vibes out of this. It reminded me of one of the ending scenes in the 2005 Fantastic Four, where they're celebrating their victory over Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
It literally reminded me of that. And I'm like, why would you want to rip off the 2005 Fantastic Four? I don't get it. But I did hear that, this was reshot by the director of the first Deadpool. I honestly couldn't tell what was reshot.
Yeah.
And I would like to know, were the previous versions workable? Were they not workable? Probably not.
Yeah.
And this is the version we end up getting, and, well, it's not good.
No, none of anything was good and stuff like that. And again, with Tannis is also supposed to be a siren. A lot of characters' name. And again, a lot of the issues of Borderlands, and it's mainly going from 2 pre-sequel, and a little bit of 3, but mainly a lot of the stuff revolves around Hyperion.
Yeah, so after we walked out, you showed me all this lore, and it's like, yeesh.
Yeah, and that should be enough if you if you have no prior knowledge of the Borderlands, if you watch the movie and then look up the lore, you will find that this movie had a whole bunch of issues.
Definitely. But the biggest one for me is, like, the way this story's been put together, it's just not entertaining at all.
No.
I think I was pretty bored watching this from beginning to end.
And it's like, if you try to do like right before Borderlands 1, you failed. If you try to do somewhere in that pre-sequel type of vibe, which would be like between 1 and 2, you failed.
Yeah, there you have it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not very good. And it's like, I wish I could spoil this a little more, and I have spoiled it a little bit. I know you have too.
Yeah.
I wish I could spoil this in detail, but I can't, because this is a movie I'm probably going to forget about.
Yeah, and if you do remember, you just be like, oh. And the Borderlands fans would love to forget this, but unfortunately it will be up there in infamy.
Yeah, or the Borderlands fans are going to be like, oh, we don't talk about this.
Yes,
we don't talk about this at
It's
all.
basically a black mark or scar in the Borderlands fandom, basically, is the movie. Just like the old Super Mario movie.
Oh,
Not the new
yeah.
one,
Oh,
but
yeah.
the old one.
The old Mario movie, it set the standard for how bad all these video game movies were going to be.
Yeah.
And from there, it was just like a downward spiral of we screwed it up, and now the game's image has been tarnished because of this film.
Yep.
Well, maybe some franchises recovered, but that's the point I'm trying to get at here.
Like
is-
Mortal Kombat, and even though the movies were bad, a lot of the older movies were bad, but the game still went on.
Yeah, or kind of like how the Doom films were bad, and yet Doom's still doing really well.
Well, now it is. It did took a bad hiatus for a bit.
Well, yeah, Doom went on a very lengthy hiatus, and the original idea for the fourth game, well, it wasn't as good as what we got.
Yeah, and then Resident Evil also had bad rap with its movie.
Although the Resident Evil series, still continued on despite the damage that Paul W.S. Anderson did.
Yep, and another movie that Paul Anderson did that was also damaging a little bit was the Monster Hunter movie.
Yeah, I have a coworker who really hates that movie, and he's a massive Monster Hunter fan.
Yeah, that did a good amount of damage to it. The Netflix movie of Monster Hunter did a whole lot better than that movie.
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure it did. Because
Yeah.
you had some good things to say about it.
Yeah, for the Netflix movie, yeah, compared to the live action Monster Hunter movie, which they did do a few things right, which is getting the roars of the monster in the live action movie right, but they got a lot of other things wrong, which made it bad, or at least, which is like, ugh.
Yeah, and I mean, with all the tarnishing that's happened over the years with all these video game movies, it's like, do none of these filmmakers realize that they're going to potentially hurt the game's chances of getting newcomers?
Yeah.
Because it's like that, and it's like they haven't learned at all from their mistakes, and we're still in this period of them wasting all the potential. But hang on a sec, everybody.
Yeah.
We're gonna go straight into that.
Yep.
But anyway, the point we were trying to get at is that, like you said, with the animated Mario film and the Sonic films, you would think that gaming films are at least learning something and trying to, get out of the dark ages,
Yeah, like you would think, like these movies, the new Super Mario movie, the Sonic movies, you would think that they were making progress in terms of at least getting the video game, to the mainstream audience to where they can enjoy it and maybe try out the games. But no, this Borderlands movie set it backwards.
Oh, definitely. And it makes me wonder what other video game adaptations are lined up right now and they're going to cause damage.
Yeah.
It just makes me wonder what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And the fact, that Eli Roth, the director of this, he clearly, got a lot of stuff wrong because he was one of the writers on this.
Yep.
He got a lot of stuff wrong, and Randy Pitchford, for absolutely no reason, decided not to correct him. I don't know why. Maybe Randy just wanted some money, but we have tools nowadays where people can do their research.
Yes.
So many wiki pages, so much Wikipedia, all these walkthroughs on YouTube. You would think that they could learn from their mistakes, look up at the playthrough and write a script based off of that and do their research.
Yes. Or even just get your research done before doing any sort of script writing at all. Know your characters. Go to the people that made the game, or at least were script writers for the game. Ask them questions about the game and the story behind it and the lore behind it and stuff like that. Ask them about that before writing your own script for the movie.
Well,
Or for the movie of the game. About the game that you are about to produce.
yeah, because Eli Roth didn't do that. He clearly didn't.
Yeah.
And what's funny too is there's some filmmakers that do kind of do their research and replicate stuff from the games into the films.
Yeah.
There's been some cases, and then there's other cases where the filmmakers did nothing at all.
Yeah.
And it's just I can't believe we're still in this era of them getting so much wrong.
Yeah. It's just you guys not learn anything at all. At least movies that adapted from the books actually took the time to look it up from the books or go talk to the authors about it.
Or if the author was deceased, they would, contact someone who was an expert on that material.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure of it.
Now,
Hopefully.
I would say this, though. At least going back to, the filmmaking in terms of TV shows or a movie, at least Fallout was well received. The Fallout series was actually well received and done right. Because Fallout was, is just a post-apocalyptic game, but has multiple different stories because it takes place in different parts of the Earth that after the nukes went off.
I mean, I haven't seen the Fallout series because I don't have Prime.
I haven't either, but I've heard a lot of good reviews by it. Some of my friends have also received praises for that show as well. The Fallout, at least. And also I did hear, at least in the season 1, and I haven't heard anything yet for season 2, although I think it's not yet released yet, but at least season 1 of The Last of Us was good. Which is also, I believe, I think it's Paramount.
That's Max.
Oh, Max as well.
Formerly HBO Max, but Max.
Yep.
I've not seen that show and don't want to.
Yeah.
I have a reason for that.
Yeah.
Because, first off, Pedro Pascal looks nothing like Joel. He looks nothing like Joel. I don't know what his acting skill is, but why couldn't they hire Hugh Jackman? Was he too expensive? At least he looks like Joel.
Pedro Pascal is good. I don't think you watched the Game of Thrones, and I don't know about The Mandalorian, but he was good in those two.
At least, he's not playing a character that's from a different franchise. He was playing original characters.
Yeah.
But it's like he looks nothing like Joel. And the actress that plays Ellie?
Yeah.
That doesn't look like Ellie. No matter what you do with the costume. That actress does not look like Ellie.
Yeah.
And worst of all, I hear they're going to adapt the second game.
Oh,
Nope.
with season 2. Yeah.
Nope.
Because here's the thing.
Nope.
Season 1 was about adapting from the first game, which was well praised. Season 2, like you said, is about the second game, and the second game has
Controversy up the wall.
controversies to the freaking roof.
And no matter, there are people who do defend part 2. No matter how many times you defend that game, nothing can change the controversy, okay?
No, not even with its Game of the Year award, which made it a whole lot worse for the controversy.
Yeah, it's like, were all these critics paid off? Were they biased? Probably were.
Yeah, again, it was a bad, and again, making it the Game of the Year back in, 2021 or something like that?
First Last of Us came out in 2013.
The second one.
Oh, second one came out in 2020.
Okay, 2020. But when it won the award then, that booted up to the max. The controversies booted up to the max. It was poorly received, and yet it won. Yeah, no, that made it a whole lot worse.
Honestly, with the way part 2 turned out, every critic and every magazine praised it up the wowza. But really, the audience score and all the slamming it got, that feels more justified.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people, I think, that was probably the most controversial win ever in, at least gaming award history.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there must have been some critics getting paid off or something. I don't know what it was, but...
It was other issues. I would say a lot of other political issues about that game.
Definitely. I mean, and I guess really, with all these video game adaptations, it's like we all go into them with caution. And yet we still walk away feeling like something went wrong.
For most of them, and that is the issue. Again, the Super Mario movie gave hope. And the Sonic movie gave hope. And the Super Mario movie, the new one, felt like it was a step forward from that as well. Those two stepped forward. And the Fallout one was also another step forward. But things like Halo, which screwed up immensely. Borderlands, this movie, screwed up immensely.
Can I add some examples?
What?
Anything that Uwe Boll has done screwed up immensely.
Yeah.
Damaged the image of House of the Dead and Alone in the Dark.
Yeah, and then also anything that what was the Resident Evil one?
Oh, Paul W.S. Anderson.
Anderson.
Yeah,
screwed up.
he did the first Mortal Kombat from the '90s, which many people say is his best video game movie.
Not saying a whole lot.
And then, of course, he did Resident Evil with Mila Jovovich,
Yeah.
which, Resident Evil still continued on, even
Yeah.
if those movies tarnished the image a bit.
Yep.
And then, well, the Monster Hunter one,
Yep.
we already know. But yeah, it's like, there's been so many video game movies, and yet you would think, with all the advancements that we've had, and all the access these filmmakers could use YouTube for, they still can't get it right.
Yeah.
They still can't get it right.
Yeah, whatever it's the movies or the TV series or stuff like that, you can't get it right.
And I mean, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, there was at least one filmmaker. He was going to do an adaptation, and from what I can tell, yeah, he took liberties with it, but it still kept the essence and was close for the most part. And that was before Paul W.S. Anderson did Resident Evil.
Yeah.
George A. Romero, the guy who pioneered the zombie genre, he was going to do Resident Evil.
Oh yeah.
And his script idea was pretty close to the game.
Yep.
And he took some liberties with it, but it was pretty close.
Yep.
What's the matter with you? Why didn't you make that?
Yeah.
That could have been cool.
Could have been, yeah, but unfortunately not. So until we made a lot more progress, a lot more progress in making the video game movies better, I guess there are some, like ideas of movies that, we could probably say keep away from until you actually get it right.
And it's like,
There are some IPs to say keep it away until you get things right.
yeah, and it's like, someday or another I'm going to sit down and watch all the video game movies that I have not seen.
Yep.
And I very much would like to play the games to get some context.
Yeah.
I cannot go in there without the context.
Yeah.
Because going in without the context for Borderlands, I still walked out bored, and you were more mad with it than I was.
Yeah.
But if I played the games, with all that lore, I'm like, the game's writing much better,
Yeah.
and there's stuff that's much better than what we got.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. But I will say this when it comes to video game movies. There are a few bright spots,
Yep.
but not many.
There are a few bright spots, like we mentioned, the new Super Mario movie, the
Well-
Sonic movies.
I know you really liked the CGI animated Super Mario movie. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I have not seen the Sonic film, so I can't speak to
Yeah.
that. But one bright spot I can think of for video game movies is Dead Space Downfall. It was an animated prequel that explained how the USG Ishimura fell to the Necromorphs when they found the marker on Aegis 7.
Well, if we're talking about like animated and stuff like that, I mean, there were maybe some hidden gems a little bit as well.
Well, before you go into that, what I'm trying to say with Dead Space Downfall, because when they made Dead Space Downfall, and this was confirmed, they didn't have the complete notes,
Yep.
so there is some contradictions between that film and the game.
Yeah.
But Dead Space Downfall still respected the source material of Dead Space.
Yeah.
It still, feels like it belongs a part of the lore.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. Whatever contradictions, honestly, they're minor in comparison to major inaccuracies. And it's like you could in Dead Space Downfall, it still retains the violence and the horror and just and all the things that make Dead Space so great.
Yeah.
That I think is one of the few bright spots in video game movies.
Yep.
Another bright spots, and this is another one. Batman Assault on Arkham. It's set in the Arkham universe. And even though it's not a Batman movie, it's a Suicide Squad movie,
Yep.
it still feels like it belongs in that universe and it respects the material enough that you would really enjoy it.
Yep.
The less we talk about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the better.
Yeah.
So I'm not going into that.
And there are a couple hidden gems that some people may say. I mean, it's an above average. I wouldn't say like great movie, but I would say above average. Some coming from Square Enix, one particular being Final Fantasy VII Advent Children.
That was something I saw a lot of trailers for in front of Godzilla DVDs back in the day.
Yeah.
I never saw it because I have no familiarity with Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So Advent Children is a sequel to Final Fantasy VII. So it kind of takes place years after the events of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I mean, at least with that film, they made it for the fans. They respected the material, based on what you're telling me, hopefully. And, they didn't screw it up.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was above average. It wasn't like, like anything like, like great or anything like that. There were, a couple questionable things here and there a little bit, but it still was part of the Final Fantasy VII universe. It still respected a lot of the things that had occurred in 7, which they kind of got into with Advent Children.
Actually, here's another video game movie I want to bring up. What about Halo Legends?
Now that one can go into a lot more shenanigans. Again, the Paramount or the Halo TV series, that new one.
Live action one, which I've heard is canceled.
Yeah, because the first season was just a bad, like really bad storytelling. Now there's Forward to Dawn, which is talking about kind of like it was like the main story talks about, or at least plotline was within Reach, the fall of Reach, and then ends with like heading into Halo 4, because it talks about the captain of the that you meet up with in Halo 4. Or that you beat up with in Halo 4. And a lot of it kind of is a lot more of like a military background, but then it hits Halo, like the true essence of Halo really quickly. So think of it as like you're going through like this military story with this guy and his platoon in terms of training, but then all of a sudden the entire like Halo universe starts to rain down on you pretty quickly because the events of Reach starts to occur.
Yeah, I mean, there was an animated Halo movie, Halo Legends, which I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I don't believe I did, but it's like it's not wholly talked about. Let's just put it in that perspective, for better or worse.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just there's hidden gems in these video game adaptations, and we point out just a little bit. Honestly, I liked the Castlevania Netflix series.
Yeah, that's another hit. That's another good one right there. First season, at least the first Castlevania. Then there's Nocturne, which Nocturne took a down step a little bit. They haven't done a season 2 yet of that. Well, Nocturne.
Well,
the first Castlevania one, really good. 4th season, really good.
I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed the Castlevania Netflix, even though I didn't play any of the Castlevania games, but I still enjoyed it.
Yep.
I know there were people that had issues with it, especially when it came to the amount of swearing and stuff, which, yeah, that can be a little distracting, but it was still fun enough.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely fun and stuff like that. At least the first one. Again, Castlevania Nocturne, which is all about the Richter timeline. Mm-hmm. That one mixed reviews.
Yeah, and then I do know there is an adaptation of Ark Survival Evolved, which I have not seen. It was on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Have you seen that by any chance?
I have not. Not the Ark one, no.
Yeah, I mean, I've played a little Ark.
Yeah.
It doesn't have much of a story to it based off of what I remember.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I saw that adaptation, because, I mean, I like dinosaurs, it's like, what would I think?
Yeah. And then going to Netflix again, or at least going back to this one for the Netflix one, the Monster Hunter from that one.
Oh, yeah, that's one you thought was a lot better than live action.
Yep, that was one that was a lot better. And it revolves around the excited A-lister that you meet in Monster Hunter World, but he also was part of the previous generation, I think like Monster Hunter 4 or something like that, I believe. Mm. And he was part of that group as well. So you're kind of going through his backstory a little bit.
Actually, I was going to bring up another example of, movies based on video games. I do not know if this counts. What I'm about to say, I don't know if it counts. But apparently, a lot of the Pokemon movies are considered video game movies. Mm. Like the first movie, 2000, and then there were a bunch of others. So apparently some people categorize those as video game movies. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, the game did came out before the anime, right?
I believe so. I don't quite remember, but I know Pokemon got really big in the late 90s.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Because because it is a game and also an anime, too. Because of, the two kind of being very popular and stuff like that. But if the game came out first, and then before the anime, you kind of sort of would count that as a video game movie. Although,
I'm not the biggest Pokemon follower, but I do remember seeing, some of the movies. At least those movies are still within, like, the lore
of Pokemon, yeah.
Yeah, and like...
And they respect... And again, but those movies, I think they worked with the same company, if not that company also worked on those movies, so...
And I'm sure some Pokemon fan's going to tell me a few things or two, but
yeah.
I do know the Pokemon movies did get slammed by critics when they came out. At least the first 5.
Yeah.
The first 5 got slammed, if only because they were like, not a fan of the material, don't watch this.
Yeah, probably.
So clearly those movies are made for the fans. But the reason I bring that up is because, at least the Pokemon stuff, it's still going. But at least, it stays within the source material. And at least those writers, I think, aren't doing anything so, divisive.
Yeah, they're not. And,
because with a lot of these video game movies and what we just saw, it's like these filmmakers do all this divisive stuff, getting the lore wrong or casting the wrong people or just not putting effort into making it look good or be good.
It's just,
Yeah, I mean, those are all the examples we can think of.
Yeah. The other thing is, I wish that there's a lot more better video games movie out there, so that way, it gets the excitement for people that don't know about a lot of these video game stories to be somewhat invested or interested to learn about.
Exactly, because with comic book movies, it took a while to get them right, but when they started getting them right, it generated enough interest to where you'd want to check out the comics.
Yep.
If you saw Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man first, that would generate enough interest to make you want to know more about Spider-Man.
And then definitely with the, MCU universe, with Iron Man and the Hulk.
Or Captain America, Thor.
Yeah, Thor. They would generate enough interest for you to go read all the Marvels or the Avenger stories and stuff like that. And DC, when it was the animated one, back in the 2000s.
Yeah, the 90s and the 2000s, it generated enough interest to where you want to know more about Batman, Superman,
Wonder Woman, Green Lantern,
the
Flash,
Teen Titans.
The Teen Titans. All that sort of stuff. Generate enough interest to learn about them.
The same thing, too, with Lord of the Rings. If you saw the movies first and you really loved them, and a lot of people do, you would want to check out the book and see what it was based off of.
And same thing with the Game of Thrones, the TV show. It definitely generated enough interest and stuff like that to where people wanted to read the books.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, it's still not finished. Why is George R.R. Martin taking so long?
Yeah.
You better hurry up on that.
Yeah, some people want to know the what his view of the ending of Game of Thrones, not what we saw in season 8.
Yeah, and I mean, George R.R. Martin, you better hurry up. You ain't getting any younger.
That's for sure.
And then, Harry Potter. You watch the movies first, but it generates enough interest to where you'd want to read the books.
Yep.
And there is stuff in the books that's different from the movies.
They are.
So it's like, with the video game movies, it's like people see the movie first, that might turn them off, or they would want to check it out and they find, wow, this is so much better.
Yeah. But a lot of the time you do wrong with the video game, so people are not looking to that. And then now you just got this whole decisiveness for some people like us who like to play video games a lot. Kind of hard to talk about video games with other people who don't play video games a whole lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I know about the really bad video game movies, and yet when I research the source material or at least look into it, I'm like, there's a lot of infinitely better ideas that could be replicated on screen.
Yes.
And it's like, no one's doing their research. No one is looking into all this, not consulting with anybody. And the funny thing is, Uwe Boll, who has made some of the worst video game movies of all time, he has admitted that the reason why video game movies are so bad is because the companies sell off the rights and they don't consult. They don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
They just let anybody do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, from a guy who's made some pretty horrible movies, it's like, if you know this, then how come you haven't pushed for a change? Or maybe he doesn't care because Uwe Boll is a controversial figure.
Yeah, because even though he would say something right, but would you trust him to lead the charge, though? He may say something right, but would you trust him enough to lead the charge of making that change?
No, not really.
That's kind of exactly the point.
I mean, not really. It's like, yeah. I mean, and the other thing, and the funny thing is, Uwe Boll, he was going to do the Warcraft movie at one point, but Blizzard smartly put their foot down and said, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. I think the only groups of people that should be kind of in charge of, video game movies, or at least overseeing it all, and probably either co-direct at, the Max or whatever, should be the companies themselves, the video game companies themselves, the ones that make the games.
I mean, yeah, they could, but
Or
they
at least
just...
the directors of their said franchises.
Or why can't they get a fan of the source material who knows this stuff really well, loves this stuff, and wants to replicate it on screen?
Yeah.
And our love, the fans, will come and support.
Yeah.
And if you do it right and you give it a budget and a really good script,
Yeah.
we'll be back for more.
Or a combination of both will also be a whole lot better.
Yeah, and it's like, I know there's a ton of video game movies that are either stuck in development or could be made. And I am concerned with how they're going to turn out if they ever get made. Like, I know Hideo Kojima, he's very protective of Metal Gear Solid.
Yep.
There's been many attempts to try and get Metal Gear Solid onto the screen. I think there was a recent development, but I can't remember. And it's like, shh, you need Hideo Kojima to consult on that one.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned Final Fantasy in terms of like the Square Enix doing some of those movies, but could you imagine someone try to do a live action Final Fantasy movie or something like that? Because I know a lot of the Final Fantasy are from different universes and stuff like that, but wouldn't you want somebody that has knowledge of Final Fantasy of any sort of kind to help you direct a Final Fantasy movie?
Well, if they made a long Final Fantasy movie, it'd be 2 hours something minutes or close to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of details they'd have to put in.
Yeah, you would have to get a lot of things right.
Or that, or they could do a TV show. That would be much easier to do.
Probably. But either way, though, it's just one of those things where it's just like Final Fantasy, it's almost like, at least in terms of like, for the general audience or the mainstream audience, you're going to need a lot of resource on. The Metal Gears, you're going to need a good amount of resource on.
And actually, with Halo, if they ever make a live-action movie adaptation with a $200 million budget, you're going to need a lot of consulting on that one.
Or, I know this was brought up a couple times in the past, in recent years, Gears of War.
Yeah, like Zack Snyder has expressed wanting to do Gears of War.
Yeah.
You give it to Zack Snyder, he might, make it look cool, but it could suffer from other things.
Yeah. So get the Gears of War directors with him and let them figure it out, basically. Try to make sure the source material is right.
Yeah, and don't give Zack Snyder too much creative control. Have him collaborate.
Yeah.
If that ever happens.
Yeah.
But Zack Snyder did recently release his Rebel Moon director cuts, so don't know how that's going.
Yeah.
Not so great from what I heard.
Yeah, it's not so great. I haven't watched the second part yet, but what I'm hearing, it's not too great.
Yeah, and then I know Sony has tried to get Shadow of the Colossus made into a film over the years, but it's like...
That would also be a challenging too, because you're going to need a whole lot budget because of the Colossus you have to go through.
Yeah, you need a budget that's on the scale of Lord of the Rings or some other high-end fantasy film.
Yeah.
Plus, you need the Team Eco people to consult with Shadow of the Colossus, because if you screw up Shadow of the Colossus, oh
boy, yeah, that's a whirlwind right there, because that is very popular. That's one of the most popular games.
Oh yeah, and I've heard that Guillermo del Toro, who's basically a good filmmaker, he loves Eco and Shadow of the Colossus, and it's called The Masterpieces.
Yeah.
If you give it to him, he might get it right.
Yeah, he might. Or imagine a BioShock movie.
Oh, they have tried to make a BioShock movie for years.
Yeah.
And I think they got the director of Pirates of the Caribbean on board with that once. The first 3, that is. Nothing past number 3.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But
They tried to get him, but it didn't work due to budgetary disputes.
yeah, or I know they also they attempted this once, but I don't think it made it too far into popularity. Assassin's Creed.
Actually, I heard that movie was set in the universe of the games.
Yeah, it is, but it didn't generate enough interest though.
Yeah, and was it a prequel or something in those games? That's what I've heard.
I think it was supposed to be tied into another supposed game or another supposed something. I forgot which one. But what else there was?
There was going to be a Sly Cooper movie at one point. They had a trailer for it, but because the Ratchet and Clank movie failed, it's never getting made.
Oh yeah, the Ratchet and Clank, yeah.
Which, I have played the tie-in game to that. It was fun. But if I watch the movie and play the original game from 2002, I don't think I think they're going to get a lot of stuff wrong. Even though supposedly Insomniac Games consulted on the movie, from what I've heard, there may have been some details they got wrong or two. I'd have to find out for myself.
Yeah, and
I know there was going to be a Spyro movie at one point.
Nathan Drake.
Of Uncharted.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's right. They did Tom Holland. That's right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah,
they did make that. I think they're making a sequel to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Was that a successful one? I believe.
I don't remember
That
how
might
much.
have been.
I don't
Who
remember how
knows?
much money it made, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen
Speaking
it.
of which, Tomb Raider.
Oh, there's gonna be no sequel to the new one. I think they're rebooting, but there's gonna be a Netflix anime series. They have a trailer for it.
Okay.
But Tomb Raider's like had so many different continuities. It's like I know they adapted the original Angelina Jolie's from the original stuff,
Oh yeah.
and then with the new one, it was adapted from the 2013 reboot,
Yep.
which I have yet to try out the Tomb Raider stuff and see what it was all about.
Yep.
But anyway, I do know there was going to be a Spyro the Dragon movie at one point.
Yep.
Thankfully, it was canceled, but I heard it was based on the Legend of Spyro trilogy, not the original stuff. If you give the reins to me, because I know Spyro, the original, the first two Spyros quite well, I could adapt it really well.
Oh yeah.
Because it'd be like one of the easier things to adapt. And I would still respect the material enough to where it would feel like a fan's dream come true.
Yeah. Let's see what other one. Imagine a Minecraft movie.
It's happening. It's
yeah.
happening, and I am not going to watch that. Because Minecraft is one of those things where I'm like, it's not really a game, it's a trend.
Yeah.
It will always be a trend. To me, it will be.
Yep. Oh boy.
I've heard also for years there was going to be a God of War movie.
Oh yeah. Yep. God of War. That's another one right there.
And they at one point had a $150 million budget for it, but it's been stuck in development for so long.
Yeah.
They might just go ahead and do a TV series from what I've heard
Oh boy.
for Prime. And it's like they're not going to adapt the Greek stuff, they'll adapt the Norse mythology stuff. And it's like you can't do the Norse mythology stuff without doing the Greek stuff first.
Yeah.
Because the Greek stuff came first. And it's like, you can't skip ahead. You got to follow in order.
Yeah.
And then, what other adaptations were they planning on doing? Because there's been like so many plans over the years.
What about Left 4 Dead?
They're planning a Left 4 Dead movie.
No, but imagine that though. Imagine a Left 4 Dead movie.
I don't know if that would generate enough interest because like it's a zombie game.
It is a zombie game, but you could because the zombies would at least be unique. Some of the zombies would be at least unique compared to the other zombie movies. I know they failed with Resident Evil.
Well, maybe it's just zombie fatigue set in pretty quick with some stuff, and I
Yeah.
just don't know if Left 4 Dead would be massively successful.
Alright, how about a live action Dead Space?
There's been talk of that, and John Carpenter, who did the original Halloween, I mean, he also did The Thing, which inspired Dead Space.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If one is to adapt Dead Space, it has to be rated R. Like a hard R.
Yep.
No lower than that. It has to be R because Dead Space, it's Alien and The Thing and Event Horizon, and if you screw that up, it's not going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely not.
And you have to adapt the game respectfully enough. You have to respect the lore and the world that Dead Space built.
Yep.
And if it's well done and scary, I will watch it.
Yep.
Because Dead Space, you screw it up, I'm going to get mad.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people will get mad, that's for sure.
Yeah, because like Dead Space 3 was controversial enough for some people.
Yep.
I'd have to play it again to find out a little more. But yeah, it's like adapting Dead Space, that requires care and effort. And if you can't get it right, I don't know what to tell you.
And there's some other popular or, either very popular IPs or maybe some, like, cult type popular IPs and stuff like that. Like, you have to play the game to be a fan of that type of thing.
Yeah.
That could be developed into movies and whatnot.
I did hear that actually there's talk of a new Silent Hill movie.
Oh boy, you had to get that one right as well for Silent Hill.
Well, the director is actually, from what I've heard, a fan of the games. And when he did the first Silent Hill, he didn't do the sequel, but when he did the first one, some people have said he showed like some kind of love and care because he played those games, and he did have a PS2 on set showing people what he wanted to recreate.
Yeah.
This new one, from what I've heard, it's going to be based off of Silent Hill 2, which is, to many people, the best Silent Hill in the entire franchise. So if you screw that up and you make it unsubtle, some people are going to get mad.
Yeah.
Well, there's people that will get mad, but yeah. And then, like, there's so many we could list off. There's so many video games that...
You could make it to a movie, that's for sure.
Yeah, and if you respected the material well enough and adapted it, to where the fans will come out and will love it, and the critics might love it, hopefully, and then maybe we'll get out of this curse that has been plaguing us since the early 90s.
Yeah.
But we still haven't, and it's really frustrating.
It's definitely has been very frustrating. It's just...
And I will say this about this Borderlands movie, because it was made by Eli Roth, it's kind of strange that he makes this movie and it bombs so hard with pretty much everybody who's seen it already.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, because Uwe Boll, who has made the worst video game movies, he was bombed by audiences and critics alike.
Yeah.
Uwe Boll famously slammed Michael Bay and Eli Roth.
Oh, yeah.
He slammed them so hard, and he basically said a bunch of words that I can't repeat here. So it's like now Eli Roth makes this movie, and he's in Uwe Boll territory, and I'm just saying, Uwe Boll's in his Vancouver home, and he's laughing right now and going, "Yeah, now you know what it feels like."
Yeah, it's like now you can feel the or it's like at least now you know how hard it is to make a video game movie without doing whatever the case may be.
Yeah, or he's like, now you know how I feel after I got all that slamming. Now you know what it's like.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think Uwe Boll's going to challenge Eli Roth to a boxing match. I seriously don't think so. Because he did challenge Michael Bay to a boxing match. Never happened.
Yeah.
Never happened. Oh, actually, speaking of Michael Bay, this was something I joked about with people back then, and we'll have to wrap this up here.
Yep.
But
I will say another video game that actually got off really well for a TV show and or movie, Witcher.
The Witcher. Oh yeah, with Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
I haven't read the Witcher books or played the games, so I wouldn't know. But I think there were people that took issues with it.
I think it got to season 2 when they had issues with it, but it was solid though. I did like that one.
I do know that Henry Cavill is a huge fan of Warhammer 40K.
Yes, he has stated a lot, more than a few times in interviews that he does play video games on for hobbies. Whenever he's not working in the movie industry, or not while not working on any films or stuff like that, he would play video games.
Yeah, and I mean, if Henry Cavill is such a big fan of Warhammer 40K, you would think they could consult him for advice on how to do Warhammer 40K. And Warhammer 40K would require a massive budget.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And also imagine something like a Red Dead movie, like Red Dead Redemption.
If you're going to do Red Dead Redemption, shoot that on location.
That would be the Western type movie genre.
Yeah, and shoot it on location, because it wouldn't look nearly as good if it was shot on a green screen.
Or GTA.
Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
Simple enough, just go to Los Angeles and shoot that.
Or New York.
New York? GTA in New York?
Yeah. I mean, you could do New York and stuff like that. You would have to go to a very populated city, either New York, LA, Chicago.
Yeah, but Los Angeles and California makes more sense. At least I think that all the GTA stuff's been said in there.
Similar type of cities, but not all of it. But it's similar. You could do in New York. But LA, California, or San Fran. Those type of movies, definitely for sure.
Perhaps. I do know, and this is something I was going to bring up just a little earlier, but if Michael Bay were to adapt a video game movie, the only one I could see him doing is Call of Duty. That's literally the only one I could see him doing. Because think about it, Michael Bay loves the U.S. military a lot.
He does, yes, but you would have... That is also another... The Call of Duty franchise is kind of on its low points right now, though. It hasn't been at its peak since the since the mid 2000s.
I remember the Call of Duty craze and how annoying its fan base got, especially on the Xbox.
Old Modern Warfare, World at War, Old Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 1, which were the pinnacle of Call of Duties back then. Then it sort of dropped off a little bit. Started that, but still at its peak a little bit. So it was kind of still high up there with Modern Warfare 3. Then Black Ops 2. Then when Ghost came around and a few other ones, that's when you start seeing its fall. Now they did have some hits, along the way while it was falling. But ultimately it was on a downward spiral. Which led to where we are today with Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's not as big as it once was. And honestly, it has been replaced.
Well, I would say it's still played, it is still popularized, but it is just a mixed bang. It's not like it's like a universal like love like it was back in the mid 2000s and late 2010s.
Early
Not late.
2010s.
Early 2010. Yeah, late 2000, mid late 2000, early 2010. It wasn't like that sort of love, like that universal love.
I'm just saying, like, you have Michael Bay adapt Call of Duty into a movie. That would be right up his alley.
It would depend on on which sort of Call of Duty. Are we doing Modern Warfare? Are we doing World War II?
I could see him doing Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about Black Ops, but I can see him doing Modern Warfare.
Black Ops. You mean like the napalms? He could do napalms.
Well, Michael Bay does have a bunch of copycat directors who could do a Black Ops adaptation if Bay's too busy working on Modern Warfare.
We'll see though. But either way though, it's just like you would also have to do something that's a little bit right to the franchise a little bit as well.
Okay. I think we have gone on for an exceptionally long time.
Yep.
But
For a movie that is like an hour and a half long.
yeah.
A short film.
Bottom line, this was not very good. And I feel like if I play the Borderlands games and do my research, it's going to hurt even more.
Yeah, which I know you said you will eventually get around to it.
Yeah, I tried to get around to it earlier, but my schedule didn't permit for it.
But if you play it, at some point and knowing your knowledge of the movie now, when playing the games, whenever you do, it will be like, oh.
Yeah, and it's just like this was not that good of a movie, and a lot of people are already slamming it. You already know how bad it's going to be. I mean, there's only one way I can get this washed out of my head. I'm going to go see Alien Romulus. That's the only way, and whatever other release comes my way. But yeah, I think that's the note to end it on. This was not that great.
Yep. And meanwhile, for me, I will be doing my own thing at a new location.
Yep. So this is the end for the most part. We may still do a special crossover whenever, but this is the end, and I enjoyed having you.
Yeah, it was fun.
I mean, what I was doing with this whole series, I was reviving the long review format that Noah Antwiler, the Spoony one, did. I wanted to bring it back, and you were one of the best candidates.
Yep.
And,
Appreciate that.
what awakened us to do this in the first place was when we saw Moonfall.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that had been our first one, because Moonfall was not good.
Yeah, and we did it really in just while sitting in the car after the movie, and we were discussing for like a long period of time.
Yeah, that could have been our first video, but really that experience awakened this entire thing.
Yep.
And it's just like, yeah, and then we did this for as long as we could. There's some we couldn't get to, but I wanted to bring back an old format, and there you have it.
Yeah. Kind of ironic. What started this whole thing was a sci-fi movie gone bad, and it ends with a sci-fi video game movie, or at least a sci-fi movie gone bad.
Yep, and I think that's a good way to bookend it. That's a really good way to bookend it, really.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just been good fun making these with you,
Yep.
And, maybe at some point in the future, when you're all settled in your new location, we'll do a special video or two.
Yep.
But that's going to be a very long time. I have no idea when we're going to do that.
It will be for a long time. Don't know when, but yeah.
But anyway, Borderlands, not good. And I think that's all we can say, but it was nice having you on board.
Yep.
And if I decide to continue this with somebody else, and you said you were okay with that.
Yep. I know I'll be all right with it because, this is your channel. So
yeah,
you do what you feel like you need to do best for this channel.
Definitely. And anyway, you all have a good rest of the summer, and there will be other stuff coming out that will definitely be not as bad as this was.
Yep.
Maybe they'll be bad in their own way, but yeah, that's Borderlands. And I guess really the final thing I could say is you all be good out there. You all be strong with your opinions and what you experience.
Yep. For me, take care of yourselves. For him, He'll see you at some point, and because of his YouTube channel still running.
Yeah, I got some new stuff in the works, and I'm planning a lot, but it's coming. So this is it. This is the end. So
Yep.
ciao.
Yep. See you later.